Okay, in today's video, I'm going to do something a little different than I do in my normal videos where I do tool hauls or tool restorations. But I'm going to do a small project where I take this 26-inch outdoor fire pit and turn it into a bridal shower wishing well. And the reason for this is my daughter's getting married in a few months and is having her bridal shower in a couple weeks. And my sister was in charge of putting together the wishing well. And I guess the wishing well is something where people throw gifts into that are kind of smaller tchotchke type things like washcloths and maybe candles and stuff like that you would use for a newlywed. But you could rent these wishing wells and they go between $50 and $100, and then at the end of the day you return it. But my sister, who is responsible for the wishing well at this event, thought, hey, what a great idea if we could make something that they could actually have. They just bought a new home, and what a great thing they could use for a year or two. This is not a super great fire pit, as you can see here. This is $79 at Home Depot, but it's still, hey, if they get a season or two out of it, it's still better than returning a wishing well and getting nothing for your money. So I don't plan on making this an elaborate project, but my goal is to just kind of do some simple things and make it look like a wishing well. So the thought is maybe just cutting some 2x4s, setting this up, and then my sister will decorate it and it should look like a wishing well. So let me get to it.
So what I ended up using was 2x3s, and I figured that would just be the right weight. Did not need something sturdy, and a 2x4 would have just been too much. Started with a trim saw, tried to make this as least of a project as possible as far as taking a lot of tools out, but you'll see later on I did eventually need to take out my chop saw, but you don't have to. You could even do a project like this with a handsaw if needed. As you're seeing here, what I'm doing is actually notching out the 2x4. I just had to do that on this particular project because the tabs for where the lid goes was interfering with the posts of the 2x4. And to have it perfectly straight, I had to cut a groove in each one of the 2x4. So it actually added a level of stability to it. And here, eventually I took the chop saw out to cut an angle to meet the cap at the top. Then I put the frame together, and what I'm doing here is just using some bins, and I just put a primer on it. You don't have to use a primer. I just thought it would save, I had it and I figured it would save me some paint. If you just wanted to buy a black spray paint with a primer in it for a project like this, you easily could, just for the fact that it's going to get decorated. It's really just a cover so it doesn't look like raw wood. And as you can see there, the black paint just covered right over that primer very nicely. All right, this is where we are in the project. As you can see, the frame came together nicely. I got the lid on. My sister just got here with the decoration, so I'm just kind of showing you where we are. This 2x4 that's in there across the bottom is actually pressure fit in there, hence why it's kind of a little worn there, but that's okay. That's not, you're not going to see any of that. There'll eventually be gifts in there or anything. And that is so you could take this apart when you get there. That'll just fall out. The other thing I wanted to show you is the notches that are over here, and that's so that because there's those tabs that are around it, and that actually added some stability to the project. So you might buy a different type of fire pit, and you might have to just customize it to meet your needs. As you can see on the top here, like I mentioned, I eventually cut that on a 90-degree angle, and then I just cut off a tiny little bit of a straight cut, and it seemed to fit the rim perfectly. And that's just pressure fit on there as well, so that could come off when you get to the event. But like I said, this is really just to give you some ideas, not necessarily on how to do it, because there's a million different models and whatnot. And then here's a little handle I put on it to give a little touch. And you could just use a paint stirrer for that. I happen to have just a little piece of scrap wood, and I put a little circular piece at the top, painted it with some silver paint, and made the handle red. So let's decorate it, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, here it is all decorated up, and my sister did a fantastic job with that. She got some nice bells from like the craft store, the party store. She went with a basket versus a bucket, and she got that at the dollar store, and she hot glued some beads on it and those flowers and bow tie to give it a little extra look. She did tell me to screw in the posts, that it would fit just fine. Those would not need to come off. Now the lid will come off, so it'll just lay in the car without the lid, and then when she gets there, boom, pop the lid on it. She put some nice bows around the sides, and was not super expensive. Most of the stuff bought at the craft store and the dollar store, and it looks the same basically from both sides. So she did a great job decorating it, and it's ready to go. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video.